Hello everyone, my name is Loko and welcome to another StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void game analysis. Today I want to be showing you a game that I played a couple of days ago against a guy named Flip. I'm not exactly sure of Flip's skill level, but I am assuming he's somewhere around the high masters to low grandmaster region, because he definitely was very solid at the game, but he seemed like he only just now got access, so he wasn't really aware of the strength of the Cyclone yet. And in this specific game, my opponent is gonna be playing Bio, which is a little bit more uncommon on the ladder right now. Now, in this video, I want to be talking about Zerg vs Terran strategies and how it has evolved already, even though the beta is only up for a couple of weeks right now, how it has evolved already into one of the best matchups that I've ever seen, okay? Zerg vs Terran right now, in short, okay, is probably the most dynamic matchup you can see. You can see pretty much every single Zerg unit there is. There's really not like a lack of Infestors or a lack of Swarm Hosts or anything. It seems like all the Zerg units really have a place. And it's amazing right now to be playing like a long, drawn-out macro games versus Terran. Now, at the very beginning of Legacy of the Void, what would happen a lot in Zerg vs Terran is that people would do Ravager Ling all-ins and you would just sort of win. Now, since then, the matchup already has evolved a lot. Right now, obviously, it is going to be a lot more dynamic, like I already mentioned. And you can, by the way, here notice that my opponent is going to be a pretty active player because, yeah, he GLHFs twice. I mean, you only GLHF twice if you if you play a lot of games, so you're not really caring about it too much. But ZVT has already really transformed into a very, very solid matchup, and I'm sure it will transform more, so I might have to make another video about this exact topic later on. Now, what have Terrans really started doing? So, Terrans used to die a lot to Ravager Zergling all-ins, and then the Terrans started complaining that everything was overpowered and that there was no way to stop it, but then Terran started doing two strategies. First off, they went for a very quick Banshee play, which is what Flip is going to be doing in this game as well. And they're also doing a lot of siege tank drops. It's really one of the two. And both really do deal with the Ravager all-ins just fine. They've started taking the third bases a little bit later, and then just sort of play a bit more aggressive themselves while countering the Ravagers, you know, blindly while doing aggression themselves with either siege tank drops or with Banshees. So in this specific game, my opponent is gonna go for Hellions, and I believe some Hellbats as well, if I'm not mistaken. And he's also gonna add Banshees, and then he's gonna transition towards Bio in the middle part of the game. Now with that comes the fact that if Zerg wants to kill a Terran player early on, you're gonna have to go, well, not completely all in, but you're gonna have to commit a lot into it. If you want to kill him with Ravagers early on, you gotta make sure you hit him before any kind of siege tank or before any kind of Banshee can come out, because otherwise, you know, you will just go get shut down. While the corrosive bile does hit air, it requires a poor Terran, you know, a Terran player to really get hit by the corrosive bile ability, and eventually, more often than not, the Terran player will be able to clean it up with either the siege tank drops, because right now you can obviously pick up a siege tank, or with a Banshee. So, with that in mind, there's a couple things that Zerg players have started doing as well. Zerg players have really started playing a lot more defensive because the aggressive strategy is not working as much anymore. And this is obviously for the greater good, because it means that Zerg now actually will have to transition towards the middle part of the game. And after that, or at that point rather, you will see a wide variety of units. So in this specific game, my goal is to go up to Ultralisks. I know for a fact that Ultralisks are near unstoppable when you manage to get a bunch of them out and you manage to get the chitinous plating and the +3 armor and all that. They are near unstoppable. I believe they have 8 armor in total, which means that even Marauders, because they now actually do 2 shots instead of a single shot, will do very, very poorly against them, and they may actually be a little bit too powerful. But we can go over that at a later point. But that's my goal for right now. Now, obviously, going blindly for Ultralisk is not gonna work. Obviously, if you go blindly for Ultralisk and you attack up to a Hive right away, you may get lucky that a Terran player is not attacking you, but that will not be a solid all-round strategy, okay? You gotta make sure that you're dealing with the aggression in the middle part of the game as well. So how am I gonna do that? Well, while I want to attack up to a Hive and start the Ultralisk, in the middle part of the game, I want to be focusing mainly on Roaches, Hydralisks, but most importantly, Lurkers. Lurkers are powerful versus both mech as well as against Bio, and you know, they're just very, very powerful. So right here, even though I know for a fact that I'm going to be playing Roach Hydra in the middle part of the game, I am researching the melee upgrades right now in the Evo chambers. The reasoning for that is because I actually don't want to be aggressive in the middle part of the game. I want to try and play defensively middle on, like in the middle part of the game and early on as well, just so I can actually you know, get a little bit of damage done later on into the game. So here's some nice little run by that I managed to get done. We'll be able to pick off a couple of workers right now. But that's basically my strategy for this game. I'm trying to go for a late game kill while playing defensive early on and, you know, playing defensive in the middle part of the game as well, with Lurkers, with Roaches, with Hydralisks. And yeah, that's the plan for right now. So I am transitioning right now to a lair. Already got it done right there. And very shortly I will be starting up my Hydralisk den as well, so I can get that into a Lurker den and eventually get some Lurkers out as well. Now, versus Bio, as it stands right now in Legacy of the Void, you can actually play with equal bases. In Heart of the Swarm rather, this was near impossible. If you wanted to do that, you would have to play Mutilating Bane, something like that at the very least if you want to go to the late game. And on top of that, you would have to make sure you're like 1 or 2 bases up on the Terran player, because otherwise you would just go down. Now right now, because the cost efficiency of Lurkers, you can actually be just fine versus all of the aggression that they have. Like, you don't really need to worry about it too much anymore, because you can just deal with any kind of bio aggression until it's like super late into the game and it starts dropping aggressively. You can deal with pretty much everything with just a couple of Lurkers, and obviously a reasonable bio army to follow it up as well. So most of the Terran players right now are playing mech. The reasoning for that is that Cyclones are extremely powerful. Now, it seems that most Terran players have agreed that there's a big chance that that unit is gonna get nerfed at some point. So there's a bunch of Terran players that are already starting to transition towards, you know, less, well, quote-unquote, less viable strategies, such as Bio, simply because they don't want to be left with a terrible Zerg versus Terran once the unit does get a change. And the reasoning why people are thinking it's a little bit too strong, by the way, would be because when you get a lot of them, you can't really get surrounded very easily with Zerglings, and as long as you micro properly, Infestors won't really be able to lock them down. Now, with the range that they have and the movement speed and all that, you will be able to eventually, you know, get a bunch of damage done with them, and, you know, it's just very hard to play with. Or play against as a Zerg player. While it's not impossible, it's very, very difficult. So in this specific game, I'm defending with Zerglings and Queens early on. I am transitioning towards Roach, Hydra, Lurker in the middle part of the game. As you can see, the Lurker den right now is morphing in as well. And then later on, I'm going to be switching into mainly Ultralisks, Zerglings, whatever I have left over on the mid game, and Hydralisks as well. Or, not Hydralisks, Lurkers. Now, another couple of units that are also perfectly viable in this unit composition, and note right here, I'm pretty much naming every single Terran unit, or every single Zerg unit there is. You can do some support with Swarm Host. The Flying Locusts are amazing at taking out bases. You need like 6 or so to take out a planetary fortress with 1 wave of Locust. Another great option would be things like Vipers. Hit the Blinding Clouds. If they have a lot of Medivacs, you can do Toxic Bombs. You can do all kinds of things with that. Another great option would be Infestors. Not so much for the Neuroparasite, but mainly for the fungal growth. Obviously, once Zerglings go to town at them and the adrenal glands of the Zerglings kick in as well, you can deal a substantial amount of damage with a reasonable fungal as well. And you can also even add Corruptors. Now, Mutalisks are actually, surprisingly enough, a lot less common. Corruptors got a new ability that allows them to be efficient against buildings. And there, by the way, we see a couple of the Lurkers coming out. But Corruptors now have a new ability. I don't know the exact name of it, just the top of my head right now. But it can be very powerful against buildings. And you can actually take planetary fortresses out within like 15 seconds or so with about 7 or 8 Corruptors. So if a Terran player, for example, forgets the missile turrets, they will actually lose a base to Corruptors, which is not something you would usually see. And I think that is pretty much every single Zerg unit. Let me actually cheat a little bit and see if I forgot any of them. Nope, I named off every single Zerg unit, except for maybe the Ravagers, but Ravagers are also powerful early game. But I would have to say though, when you get to the later part of the game, Ravagers are not as amazing for the simple fact that they cost 3 supply, and you know, they're just very, very supply hungry. So here you can see me transitioning towards more and more Hydralisks. I do want to add a couple more Lurkers. I think at this point, yeah, I got, how many do I have? I got about 5 right now. But, you know, there's definitely still room for improvement as well. Very shortly, you will see me mispositioning my Lurkers. Lurkers should definitely be defending this base up here, especially because my vision of this area is absolutely awful. And, you know, Lurkers would definitely be able to defend that just fine. Now, I'm waiting for my Hive to finish up right now. Did tech up to that one relatively quickly while still being safe. But here we go. My opponent is starting to just jump at that 4th base of mine. And I notice I mispositioned my army. And I'm like, well, what do I do right now? If you take a quick look at the minimap, as you can see right now, it is 3 base versus 3 base. And while my supply count is actually even to my opponent. Having Lurkers out allows me to deal with this army just fine. I'm really not too worried right now at anything, you know, like this this is gonna be just fine. So I'm gonna I'm gonna move my Lurkers forward a little bit. As you can see, they're super cost efficient against bio right there, cleaning up a lot of that Terran army for practically no cost at all. And I'm gonna be starting up my Ultralisk Cavern as well as my Adrenal Glands upgrade. Now, you may be wondering, how did Adrenal Glands change? Ultralisk obviously got that armor buff, but how did Adrenal Glands change? Well, Adrenal Glands is the attack speed buff for the Zerglings. You can research that Hive. In Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, that upgrade was 18%, so 18% attack speed extra. In Legacy of the Void, this upgrade is 40%. Making Zerglings incredible later on into the game as well. If you manage to get a reasonable surround with a bunch of Zerglings, you will be able to do a crazy amount of damage to any kind of Terran force, really. So as you can see right now, you know, I still have a big Roach Hydra army left, but I'm just playing passive. Even though I could be moving across the map maybe a little bit more, trying to snipe off a fort base. Knowing that my opponent is playing bio, I am really not too worried about this. I'm gonna start up Chitinous Plating, which is once again the armor upgrade, which now grants +4 instead of +2, and I'm gonna start producing my Ultralisk. Now, having only Ultralisk out is not a good option either, because they can obviously kite back for days. But here my opponent is getting a little bit more aggressive. I'm just spreading out my Lurkers to try and make sure that he does not get a snipe on them. Gonna move them back a little bit because I really don't want to lose them for free. Lurkers are very expensive. They're 150 minerals and 150 gas in total, so definitely don't want to be losing those for free. But I'm just trying to max out with a Zergling Ultralisk army right now. We're waiting for all of these upgrades to finish. Now, I make one major mistake in this game very soon, besides losing the fort base. The fact that I am gonna be attacking right before +3/+3 happens. Now, there's one thing that I am having trouble with when I am playing this style, and that is going to be Terran drops. You can be extremely powerful with Terran drops, but on this specific maps, if you take a quick look right here, you can actually defend your natural really easily with a bunch of these things. Like, nothing is really gonna go for the main base from this direction. So I feel like this is an okay strategy. Now, as you can see, my +3/+3, my Chitinous Plating, and all these upgrades are just about to finish, and I'm getting a little bit more aggressive right now. Opponent, meanwhile, is going to be dropping my natural. I'm going to have to send a couple of units over. But one thing I've been experimenting with defending drops is actually just making like a Lurker or two in every single base. And while it may sound a little bit silly, it actually works out very nicely. Now, here's when my opponent is going to be moving forward with the siege tanks. Siege tanks do still outrange Lurkers just fine, so you gotta make sure you don't take splash damage from them. That would be very unfortunate. But what I'm trying to do right now is set a surround up with Ultralisk Zergling, Hydra, Roach, and then actually move my Lurkers forward to try and deal the splash damage in this army. And I'm moving in right now. So you can see +3/+3 is just about to finish up. Really poor timing on my end, but I want him to take this battle, or at the very least, you know, not take this position right now. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm dealing the maximum amount of damage. And as you can see, Zerg can just absolutely dominate a Terran player once it gets to this point in the game, if they do not manage to deal substantial amounts of damage earlier on into the game. If you take a quick look at the workers kill tab, he did end up killing 17 workers in this game, which is a pretty reasonable amount. Most of that happened a little bit later with the drops. I think early on there are about 7 or so workers that did end up going down. But yeah, that is basically what Zerg vs Terran is all about right now for Zerg. It's absolutely amazing. I am not sure what Terran players can do when Zerg gets these Ultralisk out, because, well, they seem to be near unstoppable, which, in all honesty, is what, you know, Ultralisk should be all about, but they definitely take, like, no damage whatsoever right now. Either way, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Also, if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button below the video as well, so you will get a notification when I upload another one. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I will see you in the next one.